What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Mellow Buzz. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to check me out. I'm your host, Mike P. If you're a returning viewer, thank you for coming back and seeing what else I have to offer. Last week's episode featured the great Robert Johnson. I thought info about him was scant. Trying to find substantial info on this week's feature was trying, but I think I managed to get a pretty complete history put together of all of the available info. So without further ado, this week's episode features Magic Sam. Samuel Jean Maghett, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, was born on February 14th, 1937, to Jesse Maghett and Heather Ann Henderson in Grenada County, Mississippi. Sam grew up 8 miles east of Grenada in Redgrass and Hendersonville communities. His father was a sharecropper, and Sam helped him on the farm. Sam's mom died when he was very young. And at a very young age, Sam was already obsessed with music. Square dances and fiddle music was prevalent in his youth, unlike most other communities where the blues was popular. Roy Moses, a local musician, step caller at the county dances, and renowned fiddler, was a mentor and inspiration to young Sam. He would play any stringed instrument he could get his hands on. At the age of 10, he built his own one-string guitar. With his interest primarily focused on music and his lack of interest in farming, Sam would regularly get whipped and beaten by his father. And because of this, calls were made to his aunt and uncle in Chicago. His Aunt Lily and his uncle, the great harmonica player Shaky Jake Harris, took Sam in. Some say he moved in 1950 when he was 13. Others say it was 1956 at the age of 19. Sam also made friends with his new next-door neighbor, blues guitarist Syl Johnson. Syl called Sam's style of playing hillbilly-like. Over time, Syl taught Sam to play the blues and told him to focus on his singing and not just the guitar. Now, I've come across some evidence that makes me believe he was 13 when he moved to Chicago. I found that 3 years after moving to Chicago, he gigged for the first time with his uncle Shaky Jake, possibly at Silvio's or the 708 Club. As Sam mastered his craft in the clubs, he landed a place in Homesick James Williams's band. The blues scenes during the 50s and 60s was coming out of the south side of Chicago, and as we all know, that's the baddest part of town. Sam, with his musical roots and traditional blues teaching under his belt, he created a high-powered blues rock sound and helped usher in the West Side sound. In 1957, Sam, along with Billy Stepney on drums, another Grenada resident, and Mac Thompson, one of his best childhood buddies, on bass, recorded his first single, All Your Love, B-side, Love Me With a Feeling, for Cobra Records, produced by Willie Dixon. During this recording session, the owner of Cobra, Eli Toscano, wanted Sam to change his stage name of Good Rockin' Sam because it was being used by someone else. Eli wanted to change it to something old-timey, like Sad Sam or Singing Sam. Sam wanted no part of those names. It was Mac Thompson who came up with the name Magic Sam. Sam went on to record 8 more songs for the Cobra label. And in 1958, he backed his uncle on his first single, Call Me If You Need Me, B-side, Roll Your Money Maker. His time with Cobra didn't produce any chart-topping hits, but became very popular in the Chicago area. Cobra went bankrupt in 1959. As Sam was gaining a pretty nice following, sometime in 1959, Sam was drafted into the U.S. Army. The Army didn't sit well with Sam, so early on during his enlistment, he deserted. When he was caught, he was imprisoned for 6 months. The time he spent in jail really eroded his confidence and impacted his music going forward. After being released from prison in 1960, Sam signed with the Chief record label, owned by Mel London. He recorded 6 songs from 1960 to 1961. The only real highlight from these recording sessions was a cover of Fats Domino's song, Every Night About This Time. The rest were pretty unforgetful. Sam's recording days seemed to be over. He would still get pretty many gigs all around Chicago. Now, on one fateful night in 1962, Muddy Waters was gigging at a club in Chicago and asked Sam to play with him. Sam was so excited to play with Muddy, he tripped over some audio wires, pulling them out and creating a nice electric spark. In the audience that night was Bob Coaster, the founder of Delmark Records. Prior to Bob signing Sam in 1967 to a recording contract, in 1967 he recorded a couple singles for Crash Recordings. It was with Delmark in 1967, Sam recorded the seminal LP, West Side Soul, and then in 1968, he recorded the Black Magic LP. While with Delmark, Sam continued to tour with Charlie Musselwhite and Sam Lay. August 1st to the 3rd, 1969, in Ann Arbor, Michigan, the first annual Ann Arbor Blues Festival took place. This was the first time a music festival was dedicated to the blues. Here Sam shined and led to him getting booked all over the US and Europe. And the highly regarded Stax Records was getting ready to sign Sam. Sadly, Sam died suddenly of a heart attack on December 1st, 1969, at the age of 32. Magic Sam was laid to rest in the Restvale Cemetery in Oslip, Illinois. Now, I couldn't find any information on next of kin or if he was even married. Magic Sam's high-powered guitar style, high-energy vocals, and his songwriting ability went on to inspire many blues musicians. In February of 1907, the Butterfield Blues Band held a benefit concert in Sam's honor at the Fillmore West in San Francisco, California. And Jake Blue of the semi-fictitious Blue Brothers in the Blues Brothers movie dedicated their performance of Sweet Home Chicago to the late, great Magic Sam. Alright, so let's take a minute here and listen to 21 Days in Jail off of Magic Sam's seminal LP, West Side Soul.
Your letter, baby, I don't care what to do. 21 days of torture, 21 nights of fear, 21 days in jail, and nobody seemed to care. Oh, yeah. Days in jail, and nobody seemed to care. Yeah! Days of torture, 21 nights of fear, 21 days in jail, and nobody seemed to care. 21 days of torture, 21 nights of fear, 21 days in jail, and nobody seemed to care. Nobody seemed to care. Nobody seemed to care.
Ooh, that was incredible. Now, the reason why I chose that song is I felt that it was a really good sample of all of his influences brought together. And you could hear in his guitar, you could hear the fiddle picking, the plucking of the strings. And you could hear his youth in there. You could also hear a lot of the blues influence that he had throughout his career. That song just makes you want to dance. Absolutely loved it. Tell you, this journey's been interesting. Coming from Robert Johnson's quieter, softer style to this electrifying craziness. Absolutely loved it. It's a shame that he had to die at such a young age. I hope you found this video to be entertaining and informative. Again, thank you for taking the time to check me out. I'm Mike P. This is the Mellow Buzz. Please, if you're new, hit subscribe. If you're returning, hit that like button. Also, turn on the notifications and you'll know when every new video is posted. Again, thank you. And everybody take care.